Super Saiyan is an iconic transformation in the Dragon Ball franchise, and it is one of the most recognizable and popular aspects of the series. When a Saiyan becomes a Super Saiyan, their hair turns golden and their eyes turn green, and their power level increases dramatically. The concept of Super Saiyan was first introduced in the Dragon Ball manga and anime during the Frieza Saga, when the protagonist Goku first transformed into a Super Saiyan to defeat the villain Frieza. The transformation was a major turning point in the series and has since become a defining feature of the Dragon Ball franchise. Super Saiyan has become so iconic that it has been referred to and parodied in countless other media and pop culture. The transformation became a symbol of strength, power, and determination, and it continues to inspire fans of all ages. Along with its legacy, its multiplier of strength is also pretty known, that being a 50 times multiplier of the Saiyan's base form. This was very clearly displayed in the 𝗦𝗧𝗥𝗢𝗚 Saga when Goku became a Super Saiyan and his power level went from 3 million to 150 million, surpassing a full power Frieza at 120 million. But what if I told you that the multiplier for Super Saiyan was actually much higher than what most people believe it to be, and it could be as high as 400 times or even more? Sounds crazy, right? Well, let's explore this topic in greater detail. We know for a fact that the initial multiplier for Super Saiyan is 50 times, since it was clearly shown in the data books. However, bear in mind that this is the initial unmastered version of this form. Sometime after this, the next level of Super Saiyan was achieved when Trunks and Vegeta had re-emerged from the hyperbolic time chamber, known to most fans as Ascended Super Saiyan, more formerly known as Super Saiyan Grade 2. In this version of Super Saiyan, the hair can be seen as a bit more spiky and pale, giving the user more muscle mass and much more yellow aura. The strength in this form compared to Super Saiyan is an intense gap in speed as well. Not only is Vegeta able to bully around Semi-Perfect Cell after being toyed with by Android 18, but he's able to keep up and outspeed him as well, which would have to mean that the multiplier for this form would have to be higher than the initial times 50 stated by the data book. It's quite possible that this multiplier could be an extra times 50 increase as well, let's say as a lowball, which I think is a fair assumption given the fact that Vegeta prior to ascending was below Android 18 level, and he had to climb above that, surpassing 17, 18, and Super Namek Piccolo. Then he had to surpass Imperfect Cell and Android 16, who are much stronger than those I previously mentioned, since Cell easily did away with 17 and Piccolo and was relative to 16. Then he surpassed Semi-Perfect Cell, which is at the very least twice as strong as before, since he absorbed the power of Android 17 and he was below him, which would make Cell's multiplier definitely higher than times 2, and we really don't know how the Cell transformation stacked. Could be a Cell plus Android situation, which makes the most sense, but I could also see it being a multiplier as well. But regardless, just a lowball, we can say that it's a times 2 in. Vegeta in Grade 2 didn't break a sweat versus Semi-Perfect Cell, despite all the power increasing that he had gone through, which is insane. Next we have Super Saiyan Grade 3. The poster child for this form is Trunks, as he's shown this form after Cell became perfect. This form gives a huge increase to the user's muscle mass and overall strength, and probably their durability as well, but takes a huge shot to the user's speed. It's possible that you become slower than Grade 2 and the initial Super Saiyan form as well, but having strength above Grade 2, which as we've seen isn't a very good trade-off considering the fact that most times you won't be able to hit your opponent. Grade 2 is a better choice in this time around. As for the multiplier with this form, it's hard to say how much of a power increase this form actually gives you. It seems to be stronger than Grade 2, but by how much is hard to determine. I would say given Trunks' insane reaction to Vegeta's final flash, which was able to damage Perfect Cell, but still believing he surpassed Vegeta with his power alone is a bit telling. He also performed much better than Vegeta did against Cell, though it's possible that Cell tried harder on Vegeta because of how he handled him in his semi-perfect form. But regardless, Cell puts on more of a light show against Trunks, so it's probably more powerful. That being said, I don't think it's as big of an increase from Grade 2 to 3 like the initial Super Saiyan form, since this form pretty much became obsolete soon after its debut, and Trunks and Vegeta reside in their Grade 2 states for the rest of the Cell arc. I'd say as a lowball, of course, it's most likely a times 5 increase, making it a hypothetical 65 times increase to the user's base form with this one. Finally, we have Grade 4, or better known as Master Super Saiyan. This form once again repeats the pale coloring to the hair, at least in the initial state. When powering up or increasing your power, you can see the more darker aura that befits it. In this form, the user seems to keep the muscle mass of the initial Super Saiyan, but the power and speed increase are far higher than Grades 2 and 3. There's also a certain level of calmness that comes with this version of Super Saiyan, which in some way could contribute to its power increase. The user seems to be more focused and less enraged. The power difference between Grade 4 and 3 is major if you consider Goku's performance against Perfect Cell in comparison to Trunks and Vegeta, as they struggled to even put a scratch on him, whereas Goku was able to land plenty without being out of breath, and sometimes having Cell speechless as well. Another direct comparison is Goku's Kamehameha wave versus Vegeta's Final Flash, which you can clearly see which one was more effective on Cell. For this form, I'd have to say it will be a hypothetical times 80 to the user's base this time around, being the highest increase in power in every way up until this point. Note that it was stated that the Super Saiyan 2 was times 2 as strong as the initial Super Saiyan transformation. So if we say that the initial Super Saiyan is times 50, grade 2 is 60 times, grade 3 is 65 times, and grade 4 is 80 times, Super Saiyan 2 being 100 times would be consistent and wouldn't contradict anything that we previously established. This would make sense also because Super Saiyan 2 is clearly shown the biggest increase in power, that being 100 times multiplied to the base form, and grade 4 being times 80 sounds about right, and that 20 difference in power is clearly shown, with Super Saiyan 2 Gohan not only being able to surpass Perfect Cell, but Super Perfect Cell as well. Now to bring this back to full circle and kind of tease at the thumbnail bit, let's try and make this comparison to Goku when he was first on Namek. If we agree that at low ball, the Master Super Saiyan form has at least a times 80 increase to base instead of the initial times 50 that Goku received on Namek, suppose that he was able to master Super Saiyan in that time that he fought Frieza, which is insanely far-fetched. However, I do think it was impressive Goku was able to tap into Super Saiyan when he first achieved it, being able to go back to his base form and then Super Saiyan again, not so much after. If Goku did increase his Super Saiyan multiplier with the times 80 to his 3 million base form, that would give him a 24 million increase, which is almost double what he was on Namek. I think it's quite possible that a Master Super Saiyan Goku on Namek would have been similar in strength to the Goku that fought Android 19 and 20 without the heart virus, a more healthy Goku, which would mean that Goku in the Namek Saga would be able to beat a Dr. Gero in 19 and would surpass his 3 years of training if he had mastered Super Saiyan at this time. Though it's hard to determine because we don't know exactly how strong Goku got from the Namek Saga to the Cell Saga, or Android Saga rather. He could have got more than 2 times as strong, but even that is a great increase. Though comparing a times 80 to a times 50 doesn't seem much as there's only a 30 times increase in between those, it would do a lot and change a lot in the franchise as well if people were able to master the Super Saiyan on the initial state. Although it doesn't make too much sense, and training definitely makes sense to master the Super Saiyan. I have similar thoughts with Gohan and Trunks. If Trunks had initially mastered Super Saiyan when future Gohan died at the hands of the androids, he may have been strong enough to hold his own against the androids for a short period of time. Though Teen Trunks probably wouldn't have beat the androids if he had mastered Super Saiyan here or not, but I do believe the older Trunks that had left to go save the future would have been strong enough to beat the androids had he had mastered Super Saiyan there, the initial Trunks that killed Frieza. We've pretty much already seen Gohan get his Master Super Saiyan form over time, but if he had had it in the initial transformation that he had in the Time Chamber, I wonder how strong he would have been in comparison to the androids at that point. It's very possible that a Master Super Saiyan Gohan in the Android Saga would have been able to defeat 19 and 20 as well, pretty easily, and possibly contest with 17 and 18. Most people don't think about this when the Super Saiyan form is mentioned. They just think when you turn Super Saiyan and your hair is yellow, you're in the times 50 amp. But it really does depend on what version of Super Saiyan that you do have. And it speaks to your strength, how you're able to do against other versions of Super Saiyan. For everyone who have made it to the end of the video and walked with me on this journey, I thank you. You're an irreplaceable fan that I'd like to be a part of the main MajinBird family, and I implore you to join the Dragon Ball HQ Discord server in the description. Here I'd like to garner a core fanbase of Dragon Ball fans where we can celebrate and discuss the miracle that is Dragon Ball. Thank you.